Hi there, my name is Kirushan and I'm from Black Fox. I want to share some of the learnings that we are getting as we talk to more and more customers about their IT requirements and purchase habits. One of the big significant changes that I've observed in my decades of experience in the field of IT is that more recently, buyer expectations are shifting along the lines of the way in which cloud is sold. This should come as no surprise, but customers are tending to favor smaller upfront purchases, which may carry with it longer term, incremental, subscription based purchases. Now, this is an interesting shift because this has fundamentally seeped into the buying mindset of the organization. It also, and very importantly, has also seeped into the budgeting process of organizations. And as IT providers, we need to start thinking with this idea that cloud isn't just affecting the manner in which services are procured. It is fundamentally affecting the manner in which IT decision makers of all organizations and of all sizes, it's affecting how they go about their decision making process. And we really need to learn how to capitalize on this opportunity. So we believe that this is going to come to play in three major categories within your business. The first being your projects. When it comes to looking at a project at a client, nowadays you have to start becoming a little bit more willing to enter into an organization and deploy a very small, lean type of project that is pretty much vanilla upfront, maybe some mild customizations or configurations if absolutely needed. But the reality is that through the life of the relationship with the customer and through the life of engaging with the customer and the system users, you then develop the real user requirements and you develop the real needs within the organization. And then you start incrementally building it out into the organization and testing it to ensure that it is what customers or what users are finding real value in. So the biggest thing is that we're seeing a move towards lean projects where it's entirely user driven after a minimum viable product is initially deployed. So quarter one of a deployment might include nothing more than just the trial version, which of course would mean very little customization or configuration, if at all. Quarter two is usually when the customer makes a commitment to the software and then does require some specialist functions or changes being applied into the software. Quarter three is where we see a massive uptake of the software by more users, and we find deeper configurations and more tailor-made processes being built back into the software. And quarter four, the journey continues. And that's the critical word. The word is journey. We have to get into the mindset of being willing to walk a long journey with the client, as opposed to the old traditional mindset of let's go live by a specific date and this monumental project must then begin and users must then adopt the system and get used to the system and everything happens in one fell swoop. Absolutely not. It's about lean, it's about iterating, and it's about learning through the life of the project. Of course, this has a massive impact on sales. Inside the organization, we have to work super hard to make sure that we are rewarding salespeople on the same behaviors that we are trying to drive in the project area as we build out lean projects. So we have to make sure that on the one hand, in sales, we are not incenting our salespeople to go off and try to accomplish these monumental capital-intensive projects, while on the other hand, we're trying to drive lean projects with clients. We really need to tie both together in a way that's incredibly aligned and good for the customer. So salespeople should really be incented on things like upfront customer sign-up, an increased user base, adoption by the customer, consumption by the customer, incremental revenue growth at the customer. And of course, our salespeople should be rewarded through the lifetime contract value and not just on a single upfront purchase. This is so important when it comes to changing the behavior pattern of how we sell and how we engage with the customer to be more aligned with their buying process and most importantly, their buying mindset. This will give your salespeople a lot more success and they will feel rewarded for it. Finally, we have to look at the implications of marketing. Instead of spending 8 to 10 months on a long-winded sales cycle that results in a massive capital-intensive project, we now need to start to find ways to fill up the pipeline with those smaller deals where there's incremental opportunities within them. Now, not all incremental opportunities are going to materialize, and perhaps there's only going to be a handful of those projects that truly mushroom into big, worthwhile, longer-term projects for your organization. But the reality is that your marketing rhythm and your marketing style needs to become adjusted to the new way of purchasing, which is, let's start small, let's start on a trial version if at all possible, and let's get a ton of those leads in, and let's get a ton of potential prospects trying out the software with minimal configuration if at all. And then you go and see them in Q2, and you really get them to use more features and functionality, and you really get them to elevate themselves into the next upper tier of client within your organization. And again, you will lose some, and not everyone's going to become elevated. But the point is that the new marketing method has to be a lot more volume-based, and it does not depend on a single deal right up front in order to count that customer as a valuable customer to the organization. The customer might start off super small, and you might even question the value of that client, and that's totally acceptable. But eventually he will grow, and eventually he will develop into probably one of your most valuable customers. So it's all about building a marketing machine and building a lead generation machine, which makes it completely okay for someone, a client, to start small and then eventually develop into something bigger and bigger and bigger over the long term. Like I said earlier, in Q2, Q3, and Q4. So it's about a longer term lead marketing approach where you are inviting customers of all shapes and sizes into your portfolio and then growing with them and building a longer term life cycle and journey with that customer in order to really derive value for your organization and for the customer to derive full value from your work at the customer. So these are just some 3 quick hints at how you can align your business to the buyer expectations that have been created through the proliferation of cloud. We hope you enjoyed that. We hope that you got some value out of it. See you in the next segment. Cheers.